Okay, welcome back. Another edition of the Penn State Blitz. Yes, I am a little bit raspy, but I'm going to play through. We're going to talk about Penn State 8-0, what they need to do to get better on their bye week. They're going to go into the Minnesota game without nose tackle Antonio Shelton. We'll look at that absence and see who's going to step up in his place. What are the keys to Penn State's November? How can they finish strong? And as always, we're going to get to the Penn State Mailbag. So why don't you lead us off with Penn State's bye week plan? What to you, Greg, jumps out as what they need to fix? And do you think they're actually going to enjoy this bye week?
Yeah, I think they almost have to. I think James Franklin has to say, look, we had some guys banged up at Michigan State and throughout this unbeaten start. He mentioned a couple times now this season that the first bye week was not really a bye week because they played on Friday night, so it was kind of compromised because they had to be back to practice one day earlier than normal to stay on their normal routine before that Maryland game. So the guys didn't get as much downtime or chances to go home as they usually do. This time around, they get that chance. So the coaches are going to hit the road recruiting. They'll be out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday before coming back for Sunday practice ahead of the Gophers. To me, Bob, I think the biggest thing at this point is just health and getting everyone as close to 100% as you possibly can be after playing Iowa, Michigan, and Michigan State and heading into the final month of the season. To me, it just are there scheme things you can scout? Sure. And are there some extra things you can do to get ready for Minnesota? Yeah. But the thing that's going to matter the most moving forward is how healthy some of these guys are and whether some of the bumps and bruises can be cleaned up before they hit this stretch that starts in Minneapolis.
You mentioned team health. Noah Cain didn't finish the game. Corner John Reed didn't finish the game. Another corner, Trent Gordon, didn't finish the game. In your mind, and James has said he doesn't think they're going to be long-term injuries. I'm not sure what that means with Minnesota, a little bit more than a week away. But as you assess the most potentially damaging injury, would you say it's Reed or would it be Noah Cain?
Yeah, it's an interesting question to consider because I think Reed is their best cornerback a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But and they have depth at post positions, right? So Marquise Wilson comes in, gets his first interception. I think you worry a little bit more about Cain just because if the game is close as the odds makers expect it to be, then you're going to probably be in a situation where you need to run the ball in the fourth quarter. Now, we did see Journey Brown come in and get that done for Penn State to close things out at Michigan State. But I think this offense is at its best when Noah Cain is on the field. We talked about that a lot. I think the defense can still be at its best or close to it at least when John Reed's not on the field. Obviously, he's a key part of the defense that they'll miss, but they've recruited so well there that if you took the jersey numbers off of Reed and Tariq Castro-Fields and Trent Gordon and Marquise Wilson and Keaton Ellis, I think in a lot of instances you won't know the difference between those guys. Reed obviously is a little bit further along technique and fundamental-wise, but the other guys can do a lot of the things that he can do. I'm not sure the other Penn State running backs can quite mimic what Noah Cain's able to do. So for me, it's Cain. On the road, you want to be able to force the ball down a defense's throat. He's the guy that can do that. Probably better than the rest, so to me it's him.
Finally get to start. Two consecutive series, 6 carries, 21 yards. We didn't really realize he was hurt until we saw him trying to come out of the locker room, and he was limping pretty badly. I think it's an ankle. Definitely an injury to watch. Let's talk about a suspension to watch. Late news coming out of Penn State practice this week. Antonio Shelton will not play against Minnesota. James Franklin suspended him for 1 game for his actions in the win over Michigan State in the fourth quarter. He was ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct. Turns out he spat or spit?
Yeah.
Spat.
Yep.
Spat in the direction of a Michigan State player. Don't know if it landed, but it was enough for James was very upset in the post-game press conference. Penn State was really uncharacteristically getting flagged for 15-yard penalties, kind of taunting, stuff like that. He was upset. We weren't sure why he was so upset. Now we know. Shelton's not going to play. The Big Ten issues a Big Ten public reprimand. I think had James not stepped in, maybe the Big Ten would have stepped in. But just the loss of Shelton, how big of a deal is it to you?
Yeah, it hurts. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's part of the reason Franklin was so upset because he knew this was what he needed to do.
Yeah.
You just can't. I think Antonio Shelton's a really upstanding kid. We've seen all the stuff he does off the field and everything like that, and I don't think it's a reflection of his character that he spit, whatever, in the direction of a Michigan State player. But, it's one of those things just like throwing a punch where, you just can't. And Franklin seemed to imply that Michigan State was doing some things that may have provoked everything that was going on with Penn State and the penalties. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll never know. But it's just something you can't let fly. Yeah. You can't let it seem like you're taking it lightly or easily. So it's a big loss, though. I mean, this is a Minnesota team that everyone talks about their receivers, but they have some pretty good offensive linemen, and they can run the football, too. And to be without Shelton, I think, is going to be damaging. But, Robert Windsor now is going to see even more, double teams and things like that, you would assume, which it means P.J. Mustafer is a guy they've raved about. He's going to have to step up now. So if he can do that, they'll be quite okay. But it's a big spot for the talented sophomore.
Yeah, and you just wonder, those guys can't play. Against Michigan, they were on the field for 80 snaps.
Right.
If Minnesota runs 70 plays, they can't run them both out there for 70 plays. So who's going to come in the game?
Yeah.
Judge Culpepper is a guy. After that, it gets a little murky. I mean, Damian Barber was supposed to be part of the rotation. We just really haven't seen him. Fred Hansard, I think, is a guy that's definitely going to have to step up. Antonio Shelton doesn't have flashy numbers, but typically interior linemen don't. So that doesn't mean he is not invaluable to the Penn State defense. So you just worry about maybe attrition in the second half of that game. They have a chance to get some players ready to play, but are they good enough to give the quality of play that Shelton did? I'm not sure. This could be a bigger injury, I think, than people realize.
Do you think that this could be a chance for Brent Pry to do more, especially with Jason Oweh coming on the last couple of weeks, move Etor inside and take some of the reps that way?
Yeah, it just depends on kind of how Minnesota wants to play the game. If they come out in two tight ends and try to run it down their throat, I think that could hurt Penn State. They also have some big receivers on the outside, and I'm thinking about the loss of Reed as well. I think this is a tricky matchup if they're shorthanded. If there's no Noah Cain, no John Reed, no Shelton on the road. Again, this is a tough spot for Penn State. I think they really have the work cut out for them. But that's what November's all about, and that's kind of the third down segment we want to get to. Look, Rutgers isn't going to be much of a challenge. Indiana is much better, so that might be a tougher game than people realize. But what are the keys in your mind to kind of run the gauntlet? We went at Minnesota, you beat Rutgers, you beat Indiana, you get to the point where you get to play at Ohio State for all the marbles.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think what jumps out to me, number one, is don't undo all the good things you did in October, and that would be closing out games.
Right.
That would be finding a way to win despite, first half adversity or second half adversity. That would be, a sudden stop of being able to take what the defense gives Penn State, especially early in games when they're able to build these 21, 28-point leads and sort of give the defense a lot of wiggle room to play with. I think that's the thing that jumps out first. And then from there, obviously it's all about not changing from the way James Franklin goes about business, which I don't think this team will, but it's always something you get concerned with. You get through this tough 3-game stretch, and is there a bit of a letdown? I don't think there will be for two reasons. One, we haven't really seen one of those in the James Franklin era, but two, they have the bye week to get all that juice out of their system, so it comes at a good time. But yeah, to me, those are the two biggest things, and of course, beat the teams you're supposed to beat. So I think obviously you were right and I was wrong about this Minnesota team back in August. Yeah. Yeah. But at any rate, Penn State's still a 4 to 5 point favorite as we sit here a week before the matchup. We can change. So I do believe that you have to win that game. And, of course, Indiana, you got to take care of business, too. I believe they're bowl eligible now, so they are a little bit better than what most thought they would be. But, yeah, it's all about getting to that Ohio State game, of course, as healthy as you can. And without missing any players, Penn State's been fortunate to be on the right side of some targeting reversals, but they've probably put themselves, I would have to think they put themselves, Bob, among the top teams in the country in terms of being put in that situation. You're always one play away if you're tackling high from losing a guy for a half, and it's not something you can do in the final stretch of the season.
One thing I think that they definitely need to get better at, as good as their special teams have been, their kicking specialist, Jordan Stout, and now Blake Gillikin, who is just performing at an All Big Ten, first team All Big Ten level. The last 3 games, he's been a huge difference maker. The penalties on the returns, Greg. The kickoff return by K.J. Hamler against Michigan, 100 yards, wiped out. He had a punt return, 50-yarder, against Michigan State, wiped out by, I believe, a running into the kicker. I think it was Jesse Luketa. There have been a lot of penalties on returns, and the special teams have been a weapon, but if they can clean that up and get some big plays out of that unit, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
So how big of a deal is that in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt about it because Joe Lorig came here, replaced Phil Galliano. By all measurables, has totally transformed the special teams, and bringing in Jordan Stout certainly helped. Getting Blake Gillikin to a more consistent place has obviously been crucial, and they seem to have a little bit more structure in terms of how they go about both blocking for returns and covering them. It doesn't hurt either that Joe Lorig has found maybe 2 of the best gunners in the country in Dan Chisena and Drew Hartlob. Chisena recovers the fumble that sets up an easy Penn State score. Hartlob downs that ball at the 1-yard line. It almost down to one about 2 or 3 punts prior. He almost down that one at the 1-yard line. He was about an inch from not touching the goal line and putting that one down at the 1 too. So he's found the right pieces and put him in the right place. And I think that you're right. This can only be more of a weapon, and it's one that when you look at the rest of the college football playoff contenders right now, Bob, they're not all of them have that special teams component that Penn State does, and it can be even better if they give up the penalties that are costing them points.
Okay, we're 3 downs in here on the Penn State Blitz podcast and video. We're multifaceted. It's time to get to the Penn State mailbag, and it's an off week for Penn State. And you're telling me you have no Penn State predictions, or I mean other than Penn State. So do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, let's start out first with you led into it, but you can listen to the Penn State Blitz podcast.
I almost forgot about
we
that.
Did almost forget about it, but that's all right. We pulled the nose up at the end, and we're going to make a safe landing. Apple, Stitcher, wherever you get your audio, Google, Spotify, like, rate, subscribe, give us some feedback, let us know what you think of the episode so far. If you're watching the videos, it's youtube.com/allpennstate. You can subscribe to that channel as well. Bob, let's move into the questions. The first one I have for you is, when you look at the weekend of games here, the College Game Day folks had a very interesting selection. Next week is pretty cut and dry. It's either Penn State, Minnesota, or Alabama, LSU. Do you think game day, is there any chance game day ends up at Minnesota? And beyond that, are you worried at all about the 11 a.m. local start for Penn State?
I think it's got to be LSU, Alabama, don't you?
Yep.
I mean, I understand I think the Penn State game is normally deserving of game day's audience, but I think the world's going to be really watching.
Right.
College football world's going to watch LSU, Alabama.
Except for us. We'll be in the locker room getting some comments from Penn State at kickoff.
Right. As far as the 11 o'clock start, sure, it's going to be tricky. I think that both teams, Minnesota has the advantage, but I think that Penn State, I don't know if there's any way you can prepare for that, but I would expect that Penn State might start a little bit slow. And fortunately, their defense has only allowed 3 points in the first quarter, but I would expect a low-scoring first quarter.
Yeah, I would too, and I think Penn State does keep things pretty routine, which helps compared to how they've done things in the past. I think there's a obvious benefit to that, but it's not ideal. But I also think that if you look back over James Franklin's track record, he's had his teams ready to start quick at all different start times. So I think you have to keep that in mind. Any Breeders' Cup picks, Bob? Do you get that far along yet? Yeah,
that was going to be my mailbag question for you.
Well, I like the Air Force Army under. So there you go. There's one pick for you for the weekend.
Breeders' Cup Classic. I'm against McKenzie.
There you go.
We should probably explain the Breeders' Cup is like the ultimate horse racing weekend.
Right.
We are the ultimate horse racing degenerate gamblers.
I know. And the NCAA and the Big Ten looked out for us with this bye week. I can tell you that.
So in the Classic, I like 3 horses. I like Vino Rosso is one. I think Yoshida is a
Japanese horse. Yeah.
Now that Baffert tossed Mike Smith off McKenzie, there might be a little mojo or karma at work there. And I think there's a horse called Higher Power I'm a little bit interested in as well, but I'm against the chalk. I know you are as well. What are you thinking as far as?
Yeah, I'm Vino Rosso all the way, so we might be aligned there. We'll see. But
I like to say Vino Rosso.
Yeah, Rosso, whatever. All right, one more Penn State question before we move on to either, again, depending on where you're watching, the second video, youtube.com/allpennstate, or the second half of the Penn State Blitz podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your audio. Bob, what surprises you more? And I think I know the answer to this, but that Sean Clifford is among the statistical leaders in the Big Ten at the quarterback position, or that Minnesota's 8-0?
Ooh. A slight lean to Minnesota beating 8-0. I thought they would be good. I didn't think they'd be 8-0. I thought Nebraska would probably beat them. Nebraska is definitely down this year. I think one of the surprises in the Big Ten. I just remember at the beginning of the year, Sean Clifford was getting ranked like 10th.
Yeah.
In the quarterback projection among Big Ten quarterbacks, and we talked about it. And I think I said it'll be a lot closer to 1 than it will be to 14. I think he's exceeded expectations, but he is playing out of his mind. He clearly enjoys the moment. He's a guy that relishes the fourth quarter. I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to do at Minnesota, because I think that'll be a game, and definitely at Ohio State. Kudos to him, and I think this goes back to the spring, and I think Tommy made the right decision to leave Penn State for Mississippi State, because I think Sean would have been tough to hold off.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, that's 4 downs in the books. We're moving on to the second half of the podcast after this break, or the second video. We're going to take a closer look at Minnesota, I believe, in the second video this week at youtube.com/allpennstate. If you're listening to the podcast, stay tuned for more.